Third level spells, the big guns are here, like Fireball, Slow, Sleet Storm, Hypnotic Pattern, Fear, Tiny Servant, Tiny Hut, Phantom Steed, Counterspell, Dispel Magic, Fly, and Major Image. That's a lot of options, and they're amazing. Some are better than others, obviously, but I don't think these options should be dismissed. Haste, however, is it really as good as people say it is? On the surface of the spell, it doesn't look good in my eyes. Is it worth casting as a third level slot? Welcome to Pack Tactics. Concentration, action, 30-foot range, 1 minute. Choose a willing creature that you can see within range. Until the spell ends, the target's speed is doubled. It gains a +2 bonus to AC, it has advantage on dexterity saving throws, and it gains an additional action on each of its turn. That action can be used only to take the one weapon attack only, dash, disengage, hide, or use an object action. When the spell ends, the target can't move or take actions until after its next turn. Quick note on that last sentence, that creature who got hasted can still concentrate on something and can still take reactions. On the surface of the spell description, this is generally what I hate about this spell. If you cast this in combat, you're forced to commit to it. You can't just drop it and cast something else if needed. If you do, whoever you cast it on is going to lose a turn and become extremely vulnerable for an entire round. The additional action is what people praise the most. When I ask around, I hear claims like doubling extra attack or casting an additional spell. This is all wrong due to this sentence. You are limited to only one weapon attack, dash, disengage, hide, or use an object. You can't even dodge with this. That's not an option. You have to do that through your regular action. First of all, I'm going to assume you're casting this on an ally and not yourself, because casting this on yourself is worse no matter who you are. You can't afford to lose that concentration. You lose a turn if you do, and that can really bone you. It can even bone your friend if you lose it, or just in general, stop concentrating on it. But at least it's safer for you to cast it on someone else. You can go elsewhere and take cover. Before we start with the package of the whole spell, we need to look at individual buffs to find out what it means and then put them together. There's 3 parts: damage, defense, and mobility. Let's start with damage through one weapon attack only. How much is it? It always depends on the build, but we can figure out the gist. Let's start with something strong. It's how we stress test things. Level 5 Ranger, no subclass for simplicity. He's got 16 dexterity through point buy. Crossbow expert at level 1 due to being Vuman, and picks up sharpshooter at level 4. He's fighting a monster with 16 AC. His weapon of choice is a hand crossbow. So the DPR for that one weapon attack is then 6.77 DPR. Now we got a value. It's horrible. Next question, is it outperforming Bless? With Bless alone, he does 6.71 DPR. This is 2 shots with an action and then bonus action crossbow expert to shoot again, by the way. Bless works with every attack, as you know. You start to see the problem. Bless targets 3 allies, and we calculated 1 guy. Haste is only a 0.06 DPR increase compared to Bless when it comes to that 1 guy in particular. Let's add another guy. He's Blessed too. It's a level 5 fighter with 18 strength. Simple longsword, nothing special. Also fighting the same 16 AC creature. He does 2.57 DPR with Bless alone. Now we just add them together. 9.28 DPR. So blessing 2 friends is better than Haste, and that's generally the case. Let's play with Haste some more. The ranger died somehow. Anyways, we haste the fighter this time. We get 5.32 DPR. So that means it's a 2.75 DPR increase compared to just blessing him alone. Now we add a wizard casting Firebolt, a cantrip. He has 18 intelligence and is also fighting that creature with 16 AC. We add him to the bless, so that's 1.92 DPR. In total, with that blessed fighter, we get 4.49 DPR. Now Haste is ahead, however, we're still blessing a 3rd guy. And let's just add another wizard with the same stats and also casting a Firebolt, and we get 6.41 DPR. Bless is a 1st level spell. Haste is a 3rd level spell. Haste is more expensive. Haste doesn't upcast, but Bless does. And if you do upcast Bless to 3rd level, that's 5 people you're blessing. Obviously, that's even more DPR. I also didn't even mention the 1d4 bonus to saving throws to 3 people. Is that better than a +2 AC and advantage to dexterity saving throws? I'm unsure, maybe, but if 5 people get it, I'd say it is, but also it depends on what exactly you're fighting. Now, I know your argument. A wizard, for example, don't get access to Bless. You are right, but if you really want to have a good buff spell in DPR, it's just a single level dip in Cleric, or just pick it up through Fate Touched. Fate Touched is a half feat, so it doesn't hinder your ASI, or really the spell progression in the long run. What if someone is already casting Bless? Is Haste a good option then? I'd say use a cheaper slot. Web or Phantasmal Force will do. If it's clear damage you want to do, then Fireball. Damage now is better than damage later, and this is AoE. Back to that web, I would say Control plus Buff is a better buff than Buff plus Buff. Reason for this is the Restrain condition. Those guys that got blessed now have advantage against those restrained creatures, and that naturally equals more DPR. And defense, I forgot. But Kobold! What about hasting rogues? I approve. It's 100% DPR increase for straight rogues mostly, and buffing the rogue works 100% of the time. The rogue can ready an action and attack through haste that turn. The readied action then triggers off his turn, and as a result, the rogue gets to do double sneak attack. I like it. It's effective teamwork. I don't really need to show you the math. We can all see it. There is a but in the math though. If you bless 3 people with CBE and SS combo, the Bless will do more DPR than the Rogue, but it depends on the Rogue build. I wouldn't worry about it though. This is a victory for Haste. Now we move on to Defense. +2 bonus to AC might seem appealing, but not for a 3rd level slot. Conservatively, Shield of Faith is more than enough for the job at doorway dodging. If your argument is you can do an additional weapon attack with doorway dodging, we aren't talking much damage as I've shown. Again, to get Shield of Faith, all that's needed is a dip in Cleric. You can also get Sanctuary and Healing Word, by the way. We can't compare these to Haste. I thought I would mention them. The advantage to Dexterity saving throws part makes the defensive part of Haste better than Shield of Faith. Dex saves pop up more frequently than other saves from experience, but I wouldn't say it's common, so for majority of encounters, this is on par with Shield of Faith. Now, in general, the defensive boost you can give your ally is offset by the spell, turning you into more of a target while you concentrate. So there's very few tanking mechanics in 5e to pull attacks towards the hasted guy, so they will try to end the spell by attacking you. Sometimes that's not the case due to low intelligent enemies, but it's something you should be concerned about. Now mobility, giving the target double speed. If dash, it's 4 times the speed, and you can do that through the additional action. The problem here is you have more effective options at this level. Fly is a dead giveaway. 60-foot fly speed just counters more than half of all the books combined, and you don't need to worry about kiting or anything. Then you have the utility of flying and upcasting to get more people to fly. Mules and horses are in general enough mobility for you. They can disengage for you for free. Sure, it costs you gold though. Now for the spell that dramatically overshadows haste and mobility. Phantom Steed, 3rd level spell. Ritual cast. You create a mount with 100-foot speed, 200-foot speed if dash. It can also disengage for you. It's no concentration too, so you can just give this to the whole party if mobility is really needed. Moonsilver said haste is probably the most expensive way to notice you forgot to cast Phantom Steed. But Kobold! Steed dies in like 1 hit! I don't care. It was free. It didn't cost me anything. It was a ritual cast. Now let's look at the spell as a whole. The whole package. Here's my conflict. It's rarely the case that the package of damage, defense, and mobility are relevant to encounters. If you're casting haste to outrange melee creatures, the damage isn't relevant and may or may not occur. If you're using the additional action to dash or disengage, the defense isn't relevant because you're out of range of the enemies. If you're casting haste to tank and deal damage in in melee, the mobility aspect is largely irrelevant. And the only thing stopping enemies from bullying your friends, especially the one concentrating on haste, is an opportunity attack. You're using a 3rd level slot and concentration for a weak buff to defense and damage on a single target. That's not very good to begin with. You can literally shut down the encounter with this slot and move on to the next fight, but instead you chose to play around with the fight and risk take damage. The best use for casting haste is on a melee martial to get him into melee range, but if you're starting combat from afar, something like Web, Fireball, or Sleet Storm is way safer and more effective to deal with the encounter. The 3 glaring downsides is really what makes this spell terrible. The 3rd level slot, the concentration, and the consequences of losing that concentration. Concentration is huge. It means you're not concentrating on a spell with a greater impact. If you lose it or stop, the target can't move or take actions until after its turn. This is the reason why casting haste on yourself is the worst thing you can do. If you're trying to get in melee and deal more damage, you're likely to end up dealing less damage and taking more instead. But Kobold, what about twinning? Double haste to 2 targets. That costs you a 3rd level slot and 3 sorcery points. You spent even more ammo on something that's not very effective. Kobold! Legendary resistance and magic resistance! Cast better spells. So many spells don't care about saves or have relevant crowd control on saves or summons. If we're talking about level 5, Phantasmal Force and Mind Whip will do. Monsters usually have an insanely bad save to intelligence. We're talking about like a 70% chance of failing the save. As for magic resistance with that intelligent save, we're usually talking about a 49% chance of failing the save. Haste just doesn't do enough to justify the 3rd level slot. Now this spell will make someone feel powerful, and you'll feel good about it. That overall is the best part of the spell. It's teamwork, it's social. However, there's a difference between feeling powerful and being powerful. This spell doesn't make your friend powerful. If I made people angry, I'm sorry, but I want to be truthful. This is what I'm seeing. My conclusion is this is a 2nd level spell. I wouldn't say it's the best 2nd level spell either. It's just an okay 2nd level spell, but it's a bad 3rd level spell. Don't let my words sway you though. If you have fun casting haste, then everything I say is irrelevant to you. I want you to continue casting that spell then. But is there anything besides the rogue to salvage? Yes, comboing haste and fly on a barbarian destroys flying dragons. There's stories about it, it's true. And then there's the haste trick. Cast haste on an enemy, and if he's willing to take the haste, you drop concentration so he loses a turn. This trick usually only works once. I've done this to my players as Strahd. That's it. Huge shoutouts to Tabletop Builds and Odir in particular. They helped a lot with the script. I recommend reading what they had to say. It's kind of similar to mine. Link below. Bye-bye!